Good evening, and thank you for joining us. This afternoon, we have a special lady sharing the mic with us. She is not just a comedian, she's not just a professional. She has a very special gift and information she's going to share with us. But you can also catch her on the stage as well. Welcome to the mic with us, Miss Meirav Zur.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm just happy I got the name right.
Yes. Yeah, totally fine.
All right. Well, again, yes, thank you for joining us. And we know it's been a wait for you and for us to have this opportunity for you to get with us. So can you please tell us about your personal story, how you're sharing it with the audience?
Sure. So my personal story started out, this particular one started out completely secret and no one knew about it. And so I wasn't talking about it with anybody. Professionally, like you said, I'm in entertainment. I'm a performer, actor, producer, writer, director. I've been doing that for almost 20 years. And many of those years, personally, in parallel to what I was doing on stage and everything, I was going through infertility and secondary infertility. And I wasn't talking about it with anyone. And I made my husband not tell anyone either. We were just keeping it to ourselves because it was just, this whole, infertility is basically like, the inability to procreate and have kids, but it's so much more to that. And it's so loaded and so all consuming. And it has so many emotions attached to it. And so I didn't want to talk about it with anybody. I didn't want anyone to know or feel sorry for me or try to, I don't know, get involved in any way. I didn't want to seem like this freak of nature that I already felt like I was. And so I just, and many other reasons, I guess, I just kept quiet. And every time my husband did try to, say maybe you should try to talk to someone about it, and I really wouldn't. And I guess I just again wasn't ready for that, and I didn't think it was anything I could do. And then a few years ago, my husband and I experienced yet another miscarriage, and this one was it was even more. It was a bigger thing, and for some reason after that one, I said, okay, maybe this time I can talk about it, maybe with some friends, but I didn't really know how. So once I kind of made that decision, it was just like, okay, now what do I do with it? Because I didn't want to just like talk about it with someone and just go into this really serious and sad and loaded topic and just kind of, ball through it. So I kind of said, okay, I'll tell my friends, but I'm going to get a group of like my closest friends and tell them all at once. And how will I do it? I'll do it through comedy, because humor and comedy were always my go-to. I always lean toward that professionally. I always love to kind of make people laugh in like social settings. So that was kind of a way that kind of made me see that it was possible to kind of explore talking about that. So I literally created a group text on my phone, invited my friends over, said, hey, on this and this night, come on over to my house for some hormones and cookies. I don't even know what I called it, something like that. And they said, okay, they knew me and they're like, oh, what she's up to. Let's go. And they entertained that and they came. And that night I just sat in front of them and shared with them what I was going through for the past few years. But I didn't do it just telling it to them like I am right now. I told it through like silly songs and funny characters and weird props and like all that. And then that was it. And when I was done, I was like, okay, got it out. They now know everything. Now we can go about our days to normal and we don't have to talk about it ever again. I literally went to the door, opened the door, and thought they would shuffle out, but they didn't. They stayed for a very long time after. They were talking and it kind of started bringing up their similar experiences. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, we're here, a group of, supposed close friends, and none of us really knew all the details about the other in the things that we were talking about. And I was like, what is this thing that is happening, among women that it's just apparently common, but no one's really talking about it. Like, why is that? And that really got me interested to explore more. And also my friends were like, listen, you got to make this as one of your like real shows. You got to turn it into a real show. I was like, well, no one's gonna come see, the strange person talk about her vagina on stage and people laughing at this thing that's not funny. No one's gonna come to that. And but I said, but maybe there's something there. And I set out to do this thing, and I worked on it for about a year. And I was fortunate to work on it with a couple extra theater professionals to kind of make it a real show. And I premiered it, and I was sure that I was premiering a one night only event. I was sure it wasn't gonna, pan out to anything after that, because again, who would come see? But just after that show, which was full of strangers that didn't know me, they came up to me after, and they were like saying things like, oh my God, that's my story, thank you. Or, oh my God, my daughter's going through this and I never really knew what she's going through. Or, wow, that's just what I heard, so-and-so, but I never really knew what that was. I never knew what those words were. I never, So that really got me from that point on this sort of like mission to have this show seen by as many people as possible, because it was really like a thing about, awareness. And it started from there. I performed it in, many different places internationally, different kinds of venues. And it's just been, that's kind of like my goal now, is to have more people see it, because it gets people thinking and talking and feeling, kind of valued or validated in a way, maybe. And it's kind of like this weird therapy session for a lot of people. It's like, it's done a lot of things. And I've also, through this show, had the privilege to meet many, many more people and hear many, many more stories similar to mine, not similar to mine. It's just, it blows my mind each time, this thing that's affecting so many people. And it has, no discrimination. It doesn't matter what age people are, what background they are, what race, religion, where they're living in the world. It doesn't matter. Like these, so many people are going through this and shouldn't be, feeling ashamed or keeping it a secret or anything. And so, yeah.
Wow.
I was going to say, it's amazing how you took your own struggle and made it to where it was educational and helped made other people feel like they weren't by themselves or alone during their own struggle. And some people were probably close to their breaking point and went to your show and completely got their lives changed for the better.
Yeah. I know of some that, through people that I sort of knew, or people in the audience that actually came and told me. And it's just, it blows my mind, if I'm performing in front of an audience, and even if it does something like that, or just makes even one person like think differently, I feel like I've, done my job. Like it's not easy to essentially retell all my, the story and bring up all my emotions again and again. It's very draining, but it just re-energizes me again each time when I know that it's been helpful in some way for someone.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay. I was going to say, in what ways have some of your shows grown beyond the stage to where you have become a voice and advocate for couples, especially women dealing with infertility?
I have, because of the show, I've just, like I said, I've gotten to meet so many people that, I've had the opportunity of speaking at, special fundraisers for causes that are related to infertility, special events like, expos that they had, and these things that were never available when I was like, I didn't even know these things existed, but now, they're a bit more available now, all these kind of scenarios that I never thought existed, or never would have pictured myself being part of. And so, just that makes me feel like, wow, I've kind of done something to help someone. That's like, I mean, it's one thing to, make people laugh and having them feel entertained and letting them like escape for a couple hours, which to me is also a huge thing. But having that go beyond, that time in the show, like the next day or the week after or whatever, it's way more than I would have expected, and it's fabulous.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this. How have you been able to integrate improv into your performances? And can you give our listeners and those that are watching, can you give them just a taste of what they can expect whenever they see you?
Sure. Well, to answer your first question, so improvisation, which is kind of like at the moment unscripted theater form within theater, which I love. So because I love it, I had to integrate it into the show, and I created a show, and it also for me makes it feel like new each time, and it kind of keeps me on my toes and gets the audience involved. And that's what I do. I have a few parts during the show where I'm actually involving the audience in different ways. So it's great fun because I'm not putting anyone on the spot, but those who want, or those who are participating. It's great fun. So I have a few sections where I can't really explain it now because you kind of have to see the show, but it's part of. They're essentially part of the show in these parts, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So and the other part, what was the other question? Now I almost forgot.
If you could give those that are listening and
a bit of the show. Well, first of all, so listeners should know that they can kind of find me on social media and everything. They could see clips from pre-recorded performances. They could see clips from there to see exactly what it is. But I mean, what part can I do? I can do like a little segment. So is it appropriate? Can I do? Because there's a lot of inappropriate
I think I know which
stuff.
one you're gonna do, but go ahead. Is this where you're getting the exam?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
there's that. There's this whole bit about the gynecologist, which I'm sure many women can relate to, even if they haven't gone through infertility, because that's what we do as women. We have to go get our little lady bits checked every now and then. So there's that. I just don't know, what would be.
Just
I guess maybe. Yeah, I guess
you're free to go for it.
So there's this thing when we go to the gynecologist, okay, and I talk about this is part of the show. So you're sitting there, okay, at the gynecologist with your legs up, breezy, and someone else is there checking your insides live, and that would be okay, but then they talk to you about everyday stuff, and it's kind of like, weird. I mean, like for men, okay, like I try to explain this to men. It's kind of like if you were having a rectal exam, but from the front, and the doctor has direct eye contact with you the whole time. And he talks to you about everyday stuff like sports and work and stuff, as if your big exposed butthole isn't between you two. And then there's that little sheet. I mean, what is that little sheet for? I mean, come on. You know that they're looking at your hoo-ha. They know they're looking at your hoo-ha. Is that sheet really necessary? I mean, okay, I guess if someone should happen to walk in, and there's always someone who happens to walk in, sometimes a whole parade of interns.
That's true.
And at that point, I go on and say that I have this whole song that I created to distract myself from these very natural yet uncomfortable situations, which is a little song that I created about going to the gyno, and they can listen to that also online. But yeah.
And that's just so true. We can all relate to that, and even down to the men as well. But Yeah, like you say, there's always someone that it used to be a time where it was just you and a doctor. And then they brought in a nurse that has to
Yes.
also sit there and look at you. And then if you happen
Yes.
to look at that nurse and that nurse is like, making faces, it was like, first thing you say, well, what's wrong?
Right.
I just, yeah. And then you have to
Yeah.
make sure that, oh God,
Oh, you have to
that
make sure
you,
everything. I know.
you
Yeah,
got to
I
make
know what
sure
you're gonna
that
say.
you shaved and
Yeah, the
everything is
grooming.
perky and clean.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, the
yeah,
grooming.
yeah,
And you're
yeah.
I once had a conversation with the gynecologist about this. And I said, because I had to. I mean, this was after the show when I felt more brave to talk about these things. But I, and the doctor was like, women are just like going through so much before they get to me. Like they're literally, going through like this whole beauty regimen before they come, and they don't need to. I don't care. I'm just there to look at their, inside. I don't care what lotions they used and what patterns they shave their, like it's true.
You sit there and all of a sudden it's like you have a heat flash. And he was like, I know, I've even taken the paper and just fan, and you're just trying to cool your body down because
It's
I'm
totally.
not the only one. I can't be the only one.
I mean,
Well, I had a friend that she thought she was using perfume to spray down there. But when she got to the doctor, he's like, you have the prettiest one I've ever seen. She's like, what? What happened? He's like, you have glitter bombed yourself everywhere.
I've heard of something like that too. And it's just, I'm sure
Oh my
they see the
goodness.
craziest things, I'm sure. But it's just like, it's just it's a weird situation. It's not, like it's a weird situation. We got to
Yeah.
admit that. I think they should make it like a little bit more fun. I think like instead of having, the little sheet there, they should have like two, and it should just like open up like a little, like curtains, like for a show. And then you got the lights and then you start the music and then you're ready.
And then
It's
after
almost
that,
like going on a date with a
yeah,
complete stranger.
And
Even
never
if
yes,
you've had
seeing
the
them
same
again.
doctor for years, it's still weird. It's like going on a first date. Like, I have to prepare myself. It's weird.
Oh, it's very
Really
yeah.
weird.
weird.
And
It's
yeah.
very strange. It's
And
very
then you can
strange.
never look at that doctor the same because he was
No.
like, oh, you know what my vajayjay looks like.
Yes.
I'm like,
And I actually know I have friends who are kind of friends with their OBGYNs, and I'm like,
no,
how?
no,
Like
no,
how
no,
can you like hang out?
no,
I don't
no,
know.
no.
But I'm sure they feel the same way, like they go into a party and introduce themselves. It's like, okay, they already know, like,
Yeah, like you don't shake my hands, you just, yes, it's good to see you too.
yeah, it's kind of like, because it's kind of like a dentist, but from a different angle. Same
True.
issue.
That's true. Yes. And then leave the parties. Yeah, his teeth is jacked up.
Yep.
That's all they're gonna say. Oh gosh.
So what has
Yeah.
been your most unexpected surprise about doing all of this and your creativity coming together? What has been like the most joyous part of it?
I think all of it. I think all of it. The fact that it was just, this thing that I really didn't think was going to go beyond that one night. Really, I just thought I was finally like taking a load off. I just thought it was just that, and I'd be done, and I didn't have to ever talk about it again. I didn't think that it could ever be, you know, something. And then when that first show happened, which I really thought was going to be the first and last, I really thought that was it. Like that, that's it. Like, okay, cool. Now I got to do it on stage. I got to prove to myself that I could do. It was my first solo show too, which professionally was also kind of a cool thing for me to prove to myself that I was able to do. And so, that was in of itself a wonderful night. And I thought it was also just, that one thing. And then, it just went on beyond what I ever expected. And the fact that it just keeps like touching people in a certain way, making them think and making them feel, like you said, less alone, more educated, edutained even, you know, like it's the coolest thing. It's just, I feel so, you know, like privileged that I could have that, you know, honor to bring that to someone. Like, it's just like, I never expected it. So all of it, like, I just, you know, I just want to keep doing it to make sure that everybody is entertained and educated and validated and you know, goes through the therapy and everything. So yeah.
That is great. That is great. This has been fun. This, you know, it's, you know, we all have to laugh at ourselves, you know, at different circumstances, under different situations. It's, you know, it's just who we are. You know, we can't help our makeup
Yeah.
as far as our internal makeup. We can't help that at all. It's out of our hands.
Yeah.
But being able, like you say, to sometimes laugh at yourself, but you have been able to find your purpose in
Yeah.
all of this, and to be able to share and to make it a relaxation or a motivational experience for everyone and yourself. And you're still
Yeah.
healing,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
for
through the
me, I
process.
think it's also that it's been therapy for me also in a way. It's like I kept it, I guess, to myself for so long that I needed to kind of vent it
Yeah.
out each time.
Yes.
And each time you know, it's just like any show. Each time you see something a bit differently, you do something a bit differently, you learn something a bit different. So it's
Yeah.
great. And the comedy itself, I mean, comedy is like, you know, it's very easy to think of it as a form of entertainment. We'd like to laugh, but it's you know, the art of it is just, it's there to kind of reflect real life. It's there for healing. It's there. It also has its purpose. And I think because like there's this thing that it kind of clicked for me, because like, you know, especially with infertility, people that are in it can't really explain it. And people that are outside of it can't really understand it. So the comedy kind of bridges that gap, and it really helps it make it accessible for those who are trying to heal from it, for those who are trying to understand it. And it's just it's a really good way to break the ice and make it something like, okay, I can actually deal with this and understand it and get it, you know. So
Okay, good. So we've just added a new script for you. Vanessa's talked about the glitter bomb. So
yes. Oh yeah, I gotta incorporate
the
that.
Holy Grail experience is what we would call it.
Yeah, definitely. That's hilarious.
Oh man.
But it's been wonderful having you, and it's been an honor and a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much. It's been my honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to those of you who are watching and listening, please don't forget to follow us on our social media. And please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as we don't want you to miss out on our great guests and our great topics. And we want to thank you all for tuning in.